Hey guys, it's so awesome to see how things are going with your worship at home. I've loved seeing all the photos and all the comments pop up on the Facebook group about how it's helped you and how you've been experimenting in your own homes. So yeah, keep it coming, keep setting the atmosphere for worship. And today we are going to look at composition. So I'm just going to give you a few tips that will help you with that. Alright, so the first thing I would say is don't clutter your set. You might have a lot of pretty things lying around that you'd be tempted to use, but don't go overboard and try and jam everything in like this. Remember here, it's all about worship and not distracting the people who are watching with all the pretty things that you have lying around in your house. We want to keep it simple. Add those things in to create an atmosphere and to create that warm, cozy vibe, but remember, just keep it simple.
Which also includes removing your dirty laundry from the shop, or the sombrero from last night's lockdown mariachi party.
Okay, let's talk about how far to position yourself from the camera. There's a few things to consider here. First of all, how much space you actually have. Now, if you've got a fair amount of space, try and separate yourself from the wall a little bit just to create a bit more of a depth of field effect. So I've not got too much space here, kind of got this framing and then I've got some windows either side that are out of shot that I don't really want in here, but I've still managed to create a bit of separation with this unit behind me and the fairy lights, just creating a bit more of a 3D effect. It's not so flat, it's not so two-dimensional. So just try and play around with that if you can. Depending on how many of you are in the shot, usually it's 1 or 2 people. Try to position yourselves fairly close to the camera with kind of majority of your upper body in the shot and your musical instruments, just so that you can engage more with the people who are watching. Personally, I actually feel way more connected to you guys just because I feel like I can see through the lens, as Libby said so profoundly the other day. You want to try and imagine yourself seeing the person on the other side and connecting with them. Instantly, my body language is way more confident, the way I speak is way more confident, just because I feel like I can engage with you and see you better than if my camera was further back there. I feel like I'd be kind of straining my voice, trying to yell, and just feel a little bit disconnected with all that space between us. Also, from an audio perspective, if you're using your iPhone for both video and audio, then the audio is not going to sound as good if it's far away like it is now. Already I can feel myself straining my voice. I know it's probably going to sound a little more echoey, not as nice, and to be honest, at the moment I feel pretty disconnected because I can barely see myself speaking to you. I'm just a little dot at the moment that I'm looking at, and yeah, I feel way more awkward, I feel way more disconnected, so that's why I would suggest bringing the camera a lot closer. So by being closer to the camera, not only does it make you feel connected to the people at home, I actually think subconsciously it will make the people watching feel closer and more connected because they can see you're smiling more, they can see you're kind of more relaxed. So yeah, connection is definitely key here. So overall, you want to get a good balance of where you're positioned. Obviously, if you're the Von Trapp family and you want to get everyone at home involved in the worship at home, which would be awesome, you want to create a little bit more space to fit everyone in the shot. The last thing you want is little Johnny over here, sort of half in frame and half out. Don't have an excessive amount of headroom. So like I have right now at the moment, you can see all this dead space, all the lights going on up here. It kind of automatically draws people's eyes to all that space around you rather than you yourself. Well, it does for me anyway. So yeah, try and avoid that if you can. A general rule of thumb is to have a little bit of headroom. So like I have here, just this amount of space is nice, just in case I sit up a little bit. So there's still a bit more room in case I move around a bit, but you don't want to have too much, as I said earlier. If you have any photography background experience, you might have heard of this thing called the rule of thirds. Now this is quite a good guideline to go by. It's usually more used with things like films, or even in when we're filming church bulletins or church notices, we'll try and stick to the rule of thirds. For a more detailed explanation on this, I would recommend going to YouTube or to Google. It would take a little bit more time for me to explain. And if you're just looking for more of the basic side of framing, then just trying to stick to those headroom rules, those equally positioned rules. So for example, example, if there's two of you, you'd want one person on this side, one person on this side, standing or on stools. Trying not to have either one further forward than the other or way further to one side than the other, just so it releases that distraction from the viewers again. It's all the kind of things that will just help draw their eyes and focus their eyes on the worship side of things rather than what's going on in the shot. Those are my main tips on composition. Please do chuck up any more comments on what was helpful, what I can give you more advice on for video, and keep those photos coming through of your setups. I love seeing those being put up on here. What just happened?